Hello, welcome to another tonal landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy. And the painting I'm bringing you today is called Riffing on Granville Redmond. It's a 9x12, and if this looks a bit familiar, it's because this is kind of another one of them scale-up things, kind of like a few days ago. I'm not going to get as deep into the whole scale-up process. Um, But what I would say is that I've done versions of this Granville scene many times, including straight up study of his, some very little minis, and then a riff. And I was really stoked with the riff. That was about 2 months ago, I would say, 6x8, and it was sitting there on my studio wall, and I would enjoy it now and again. And I ended up trading it with a friend of mine for one of his little sculptures. So I'm sitting there, I'm kind of missing my painting, and I'm thinking, well, I had this board extra. So the one you saw of the, I think it would have been the last one there is the, like the path. Another path painting. A forest path or something. It's the one right before this. Um, I had I had prepped this board as well as the board that was painted on, and I had already put a date on this board, and I was thinking, well, I may as well just put a painting on there so that I don't have to try it, because the back of the masonite is very rough, so the date's there for all time once you put it on. I thought, well, that's close enough. Yeah, several challenges here. So one of the big things I wanted to do was move the tree mass, the main trunk, over a bit. It was a bit closer to the edge in the last one. I think it needed more room to breathe. I do like to line things up on that rule of thirds, and you can see that's pretty much what I've done here. Now that seems a little hackneyed, but there's a reason the rule of thirds is, pre-installed in pretty much every camera. If you follow that one rule, your compositions will always be better. Put your main tree mass, line it up close to one of those divisions. And if you don't know what the rule of thirds is, it's like when the panel or rectangle is divided into three even spaces each way, and then where those lines intersect is where you want to put your focal point. Now, I don't think it's necessary to put them actually on the intersection, but you can definitely put them like a tree like we've got here. Put that where that third of the way is, and you're going to have a far more harmonious composition. Now, I've been working on some projects lately writing about composition, and if you know me, you know I love to burble on about composition. And one thing that kind of came up was the my collaborator had mentioned that you don't want to use formulas and be hackneyed. But I had to kind of retract from that because I use formulas all the time, and I don't think my work ever comes out hackneyed. It's really a matter of how you approach formulas, and or I don't even like the word formula, but suffice to say, there are some things that you can do that work. You can say that doing a burnt umber underpainting on a bit of masonite is a formula. Well, that didn't really help me much with the process of actually getting the painting done. In a sense, it did, because it's very logical for me to proceed through the steps. But my point is that the challenge of creating each scene is always going to be unique. And in this case, even though I'd painted the scene before, I had the unique challenge of trying to get it done larger and still have it look cool, Try and get some of the good stuff that I had in the other painting while retaining, a fresh and immediate sort of scene. So, and I succeeded in this case. Now, actually, when you're talking about scaling up, um, The one previous on the channel, I definitely cleaved more to the photo. Here I found myself very much just looking at the previous painting, because there were things like that patch of yellow with the patch of white underneath it and the blue. And if you look at the reference image, which actually you have access to, not just my reference image, but Granville Redmond's original little painting, in the members area at the beginning of each video, you can see those images come up. And it's quite educational, I think. Now, so many things change that I will use the same reference image quite often, but usually not this close. Again, I had something else in mind, and there's only so many scenes I have prepped that'll work in the vertical format. And the one I was trying, a lot of times I'll just go on intuition. I'm trying to make something work and it's not working that well, and another image as I'm scrolling by will jump out at me and say, hey, what about me? And that was the case with this. And I'm like, yes, I do miss you, painting. I miss you very much. I would love to have you back in my life in whatever form I could. And this is pretty true to it. Okay, we got an ad for the book coming up. Well, we've been sending out books. It's been pretty steady since I rolled this book out, and I appreciate that. And I think the people that got the book appreciate it. If you're interested in painting in this mode, it's my take. It gives you everything you need to know. And a lot of this information is on the channel, of course, but how are you going to know where it is? That's the beauty of the book. It's all there. It's in a linear fashion, so you can just, pull it up, have it on your bench, and get to work. That's $60. International shipping is included, and I'll get it to you anywhere on the planet. Anyway, parts of this painting. So once I decided that, okay, I'm not going to try and reinvent this completely. I really like what I had in the sky. Now it did come out quite different, especially because I did move that where that tree is, and I actually had a whole different configuration of the. You see where I have a second branch coming up. In the last iteration I did of this scene, that was an entirely separate tree in the back. And iterations are great, man. I don't know if I'll paint this again, but it doesn't look very much like the original Granville painting. But I'm still going to give him his due, because essentially what I've done is lifted his composition with the trees in the path. Now, one thing he had that I did originally paint in my first iteration of doing a study of his scene was a very long, skinny tree coming up through our main tree masses, and that just doesn't sit well with me. It's very hard to reconcile something like that and make it work. I'm not saying it didn't work in his painting, and actually you can see that in the members area if you're interested. It meant that everything's got to be lower. The main tree mass has got to be lower in the picture. And that's getting kind of back into the composition thing. One of the things that I'm most sensitive about is the distance between the top of the tree and the edge of the panel. This is so critical. If you get that wrong, if it's too much, I don't like it. Like I say, I'm sensitive to it. I'll adjust it in my reference prior to painting, and I'll try and get that sorted out. This is the thing that gives you the feeling of depth. Well, it gives you a feeling of depth in the scene, but it also is a balancing factor against all the compositional elements in the scene. And one thing I was working on was talking about the relationships of the big masses, and we got a bit of time here in the end part of this video. So critical, okay? If you blur your vision, we obviously have this big tree mass with an irregular kind of edge. Pardon me for the sniffle. We got a path, and then we have another mass in the back, but we also have the mass of the sky. And if you look at how the tree is interacting with the sky, it's almost like a yin-yang. There's a total balance there, right? Those two masses are balanced against each other, although most painters starting out would mostly see the positive mass, like the mass of the trees, and the sky is just something they're going to fill around behind. And there are paintings where, you know, that's certainly the case where I don't have much sky. I'm going to fill it around behind. But this case almost was doing this yin-yang thing, and every single painting is going to be different. Even if you painted the scene before, you're going to be different, and thus everything else is going to change. So you always want to look for these large masses and how they are working against, in this case, how much space is between the edge of that the tree, the top bit of tree poking into the sky. What is the relationship between that and the other edge of the painting, and what is the relationship between the top of the tree and the top of the painting? Those are so critical. Where the horizon line is the next really critical bit, and there's a lot of time in my coastal scenes where I will have a rough horizon line indicated. I'll do all my trees, I'll do my cliff or my beach or whatever, and 9 times out of 10 I'm going to come in and lower that horizon line, and that is just something that's going to move that painting into an area of, you know, just being better, frankly. All of these different factors, they contribute to the success of a painting. And they are actually the greatest factors that contribute to the success of a painting. Now, if once you got your shapes in the right place and everything's feeling balanced, the proportions all feel good against each other, nothing feels untoward, you know. Oh, from there you have a bunch of other challenges, like laying in your darks in an efficient way, connecting those darks, the value structure of the painting, the harmony of the color, the harmony of the values. That's a little known facet, and I talk about that in my book. Tonalism is more about values than it's about color. What people notice is the color, but every color that you're laying down when you're making a painting also includes a value component, and it is the harmonious integration of these values with the harmonious relationships of the large masses that creates the feeling in the painting. And for me, the feeling in the painting is what the painting's about. I use the trees and the landscapes and the paths and the skies as the vehicles for emotion and feeling. And the emotion and feeling is nothing obvious or smack you in the face, like I want you to feel this way or want you to feel that way. It's quiet. It's a feeling of repose or something else. But you know it when you feel it, and I am interested. That's what I'm predominantly interested in communicating with my work. And now, there's a lot of things you can do with painting, but if you want to try and do that kind of thing, then it's all about harmony and balance. So maybe you got a few tips today. What I would say as far as tips for you is that underpainting session is a place to really critically look at what you're doing. Look at these masses, and always take into account the negative shapes as they are opposed to the positive shapes. And where there's a balance, you can see we have a good balance in this scene between the area of the grass, which is its own shape. It's subdivided by the path, so we have two shapes there, but really it's one that's been subdivided. You know, everything has a relationship to everything else, and if you, frankly, one of the best ways I think to get good at painting is just to do little quick studies. Say, get one of those canvas pads or even a paper pad, and you can go over each piece of paper with the transparent gesso. You can make quick little oil paintings on there. You can do one color, say burnt sienna or burnt umber on there. So you can tone them so they look kind of attractive. Just do a quick underpainting / drawing, and do a bunch of those for whatever scenes you feel like painting, and you'll start to learn very quickly that some of them are going to resonate more than others, and some of them are going to be better than others. Anyway, that's it for today's video. I hope you've been having a great week, and until I come back with another video for your, hopefully for your edification and enjoyment, do me a favor. Do me a solid and take good care of yourself, your family, all your loved ones. Stay out of trouble. God bless you and your family, and please fight the power.